church. Oh, right now they're doing this. Oh, right now this is where, like, we just kept talking like this is what we would be doing. But we were literally driving into the jungle at this time last Sunday. And so we were slowly starting to lose service when we were getting to the different villages. And today we just want to share everything that took place. The month of March, our series is called March Madness because it's a little all over the place. All right, we're going to be hitting a little bit on missions because today's Mission Sunday, the first Sunday of the month. But then we're going to go back to James and finish James chapter 5 next week. So be sure to read on that. Did you enjoy Brother Bobby last week preaching on James chapter 4? We were able to see a little bit. You did amazing. Our phones were kind of spazzing in and out of internet. So we would catch like 10 seconds and then we were totally somewhere else. We were trying to follow along as best as we could, but it was awesome, and we had guest worship last week, and so we just thank you guys for still coming out and supporting when we took such a big chunk of our church on this mission trip. In fact, we took 22 people on this trip, and we went to the Yucatan. We were there for 10 days, and I could tell you all about it, but we decided that you would hear from the people who went themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to the first one to take it today, and that's going to be Anjanette. And y'all already know the order, so you can just come up when she's done. But that's how we're going to do the message today. We just want to share with you what took place from the people who went. There you go.
All righty, good morning. Where to even begin? It was just amazing. Like the fellowship with everybody, getting to know people, it was awesome. My impactful moment I want to share with you guys, we were at Kids, and it was our first day at Kids. These kids were just so happy to have us there. It was amazing. I can't wait for all you guys to see pictures if you already have it on Facebook. But there was a young lady named Raina. She was helping Sal interpret for Sal. And she was just a sweet, sweet girl. And later on, she was holding this really cute baby. And I was like, oh, she's holding a baby. I need to get my baby fixed. Maybe she'll let me hold this cute baby, right? And so I go over to talk to her to ask her if that's, this is her child. And she's telling me no. And of course, I don't speak Spanish, so there's a communication gap there. And Melody was helping me, and she told us it was her cousin. But she was trying to communicate with me, and I just could not understand her. So she just grabbed my hand, and she put it on her belly to let me know she was pregnant. And I was just like, oh, that's just so sweet. Like, she's just so nice. And so during the trip, I felt the need that I needed to get her something for her baby because she was just, I don't know, God was just pulling on my heartstrings. And I didn't get a chance to, but we had some Bibles that we were giving away. And the last day there, we were all piled in the van, getting ready to leave, and all these kids are around us to say goodbye. And I looked at Melody, I was like, Mel, do we have a Bible left? And she's like, yes, we do. And I was like, okay. And so I went to give it to her, and Daniel came with me because, of course, I needed somebody to interpret what I wanted to say. By the way, on my next trip, I will learn how to speak Spanish. But I wanted to I handed her the Bible and told her that God wanted me to give her this Bible for her and her family and this new life she was bringing into the world. And her eyes just filled up with tears. And then I started to cry. And then she hugged me. And she put her head right here on my shoulder. And she just cried and was just so thankful for this gift. And Daniel, of course, interpreted all for me. And so she actually reached out to Melody to find out who I was. And Melody told her who I was, and she actually found me on Facebook. And she thanked me again on Facebook, and I sent her a message. And we communicated back and forth a bit, and she was just very thankful, and she said she's going to send me pictures of her baby, and that she is excited to be friends with me and stay in touch with me, even though we are so far away. And it was just a real amazing moment for me. I mean, all of it was really. Everybody's going to tell you their story, but it was just really great. And that's it.
Well, this was my first time out of the United States, and I wouldn't have traded for anything. I met some humble people, the happiest people I've ever met, no matter how poor they were. They always had a smile on their face, and food was amazing. Food was good. They made food for everybody, big dishes. Their work ethic is what we take for granted here. Out there, they have no equipment, none. We mixed concrete by hand, laid concrete forms. And their bases is different than the United States. I went down to walk on a market. There's only one Bronco fan out there. Well, he told me that he wanted my hat, so I was looking at him like if he gave me 3 items for free, and I traded my Bronco hat for it. So we traded straight across. It was just trading. It was pretty good experience out there. Then we were working at a construction site, and the food is hard out there for them. So you give them a little piece of food, and they took their time on that bread. They took their time on their meat. They enjoyed every second of that food they had. And if you gave them an orange, they thought it was a ball. So throwing it on the floor, the little cuties, they thought it was a ball. So it was great. I connected to a lot of kids out there, so it was a great experience, and I know I'll be going back on another missionary trip. So it's not my first or my last, so that's all I have to say.
Okay, so obviously it's hard to condense 10 days of experiences into 5 minutes, but I'm going to do my best. Early in the week, Luis, who is, I think, a pastor from the Longmont Church, preached on the Esther. And if you don't know the story of Esther, basically the king exiles the previous queen, and through a series of events, Esther becomes queen while her people are being persecuted. And so I'm going to read what he read to us really fast. In chapter 4, verse 13, it says, Mordecai sent their reply to Esther. Don't think for a moment that because you're in the palace, you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. If you keep quiet at a time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows if perhaps you were made queen for just such a time as this? And that last sentence really stuck with me all week. So in this set of verses, Esther was scared. Silence had kept her safe for pretty much her whole existence up to that point. The previous queen was exiled because she spoke up differently than the king. So it was in her favor to be unproblematic and quiet. But in verse 16, her response is, if I die, I die. So she stepped into courageous obedience, regardless of the consequences. So I realized this week, we get caught up so easily in our own agenda and lose sight of the cost of those choices and what really matters. So for me, I tend to evaluate my actions through the lens of others. And pretty much always, that's a different perspective than what God has for us, right? So this week, God was like, you need to listen to my voice and what I have for you and step into choice based on my perspective of you, because it's always worth it. So God asked me to help out in the kitchen with Las Hermanas, which is the ladies from both Gypsum and Junction City. Grand Junction. Junction City is where I'm from, or near where I'm from. And also the ladies from the church there. And they worked harder than I've ever seen anyone work probably in my life. They got up early to prep food. We all did, I guess. One day it was at 4:15 Central Time, which is 3:15 our time, which was a long day. But we would prep food for hours and support the work of those who were doing more kind of glamorous or exciting work. And then when everyone left to do that job, we would rest for a short time before making our lunch, and then I would head out to VBS to help with the kids. So it was easy for me in those moments to see that rest as a bad thing because it was while others were working. But God was faithful to remind me that work and the work others were doing were part of the same story, and they were all important, right? Even though it looked different in the moments. And God also graciously gifted me that time of rest because he knew I needed it. He knew I needed to spend specific time with him because I was asking him some questions and seeking some direction. And he was faithful to show up in those moments as my friend. But also, while I got to spend time in the kitchen, I got to know those other ladies from the other churches and from that local church. The ladies from that church, they worked for hours making tortillas from scratch in the backyard, and that work went underappreciated and unnoticed because they were out of sight, out of mind. But they did it consistently with a smile on their face, without complaining, and they made every tortilla with love for us. They made hundreds over the course of a week. And they also did all the dishes at the end of the day while others relaxed after their hard work. So they were up early and up late to serve us, and they never once complained about it. That was really cool to see. And then at one point, one of the ladies found out I could speak just a little bit of Spanish. And so she came over to help me practice, and that was super kind of her. So we talked a little bit, but I never would have gotten that moment of connection if I had been focused on others' perception of me and kind of abiding by that rather than what God was asking of me in the moment. So kind of what I'll leave you with is the question I asked myself all week, and I'll continue to ask myself, is what is God asking you to do? Maybe he's calling you to action, or maybe he's calling you to rest. Maybe it's to love your obnoxious coworker well, or maybe he's asking you to let go of that grudge that grew in the wake of really valid hurt. Maybe he's asking you to relinquish control for the future and hold your dreams and plans with an open hand. Maybe he's calling you into a more disciplined life that honors him instead of seeing how close you can dance to the line. Or maybe he's asking you to stop justifying yourself through the rules and step into the new kind of freedom that he's offering that's kind of scary. God's asked all of these things of me at some point or another, and every single time I had to make a really difficult choice over maybe my reputation and obedience, and every single time it was worth it. So who knows how that courageous obedience could impact someone else along the way.
You know, I was struggling because, you know, I'm a very talky person. But, you know, I'm out here representing Jesus' heart. Not my heart, but Jesus' heart. So I'm going to talk about a subject that a lot of us struggle with, and that is money. And the reason I want to talk about money is because I remember we were having this service, and after the service was done, the basket was passed around, and I was very proud because I was able to give a lot of pesos. And I saw that us missionaries were able to give a lot of pesos. But I noticed this young lady who gave a few coins. Because she gave what she didn't have. She needed the money for her kids to feed her kids. You know? And then I was at the market because I wanted to bring a nice present for my wife. And there's young ladies walking around, hustling everybody to buy something from them. And you know me being a turista or whatever I can consider myself, you know, they're over there begging to sell a shirt to you or something. And she says, I say, how much do you want for that? She goes, 250 pesos. And I say, I'll give you 200. And she said, yes. Do you guys know what I did? I robbed her. I robbed food from her children. And I feel so ashamed. I feel so ashamed because I should have gave her 300. I should have gave her 400. So right now what I'm telling you guys is when the church is asking for money for missions, do not give grudgingly. Give it. Give it because there's a need. We cannot take the food away from the people. Please, don't feel bad when we're asking for money because the need is real. The need is real. You know? So that is my message. That's the message God gave me because I was asking my pastors, what should I say? What should I say? And I wanted to come out here and give you guys my heart. But Jesus says, no, give him my heart. You represent me. Don't represent yourself, represent me. So I want all of you guys, when you're thinking about it, represent Jesus Christ. Don't represent yourselves. Thank you. God bless you all.
The first day that we arrived at Yaxkaba, I truly felt that I made a mistake. I thought, what did I get myself into? I should not be here. I was like, this is not like anything I've ever experienced. I was thinking, I don't know if I have the work ethic for this. I don't know if I have the spirit for this. But our first day at VBS, I was made aware of Santiago, which is their youth pastor. He is 11 years old. And that really like touched me because like I'm in kids and I really enjoy to teach and spread the word of God to them. And for a kid himself to be spreading the word was absolutely amazing. And he was actually gifted a Bible as well. And I thought it was so cool how excited he was to get that Bible. He picked it up, looked at his mom, and was like, look what I got, like, look. And was so excited, and I thought that was very powerful. But that first day as well, we decided to do some face paint. Me and Angelica were practicing on Ellie and Mel and trying to make sure we did it somewhat decent because we've never done it before. But the kids loved it. I got to practice so much Spanish, and you know, mariposa is a new word in my vocabulary now. So that was super fun. And they kept coming up just constantly. They would have, you know, on both hands and their face, and they'd be like, no, now put them on my arms. Like, I want Spider-Man, I want Captain America, I want a heart, I want all this stuff. And, you know, like one of them asked Angelica to do the Hulk. So that was a little out of our talent there, out of our skill. Like one of them wanted a train. I was like, okay, I'll just do like a red bus looking thing. I couldn't do it very well. But there was a little girl named Kendra, and she has special needs, and she was very shy to come get face paint at first. Like, she didn't want to, and I could see like she was thinking about it, so I was trying to encourage her, and eventually she came over and she let me do little hearts on her hand, and when she looked at it, she was just so happy. Like, she thought it was so beautiful, and she just smiled and was so excited. Ended up coming back up for more, just like the rest of the kids. So I loved that. And the last part of, like, the most impactful moment for me was our last day at VBS. And this is when it really all sank in for me, when I realized that this was something important. We were getting ready to leave, and there was this little girl, Maria Jose. She, not that I should have favorites, but she was mine. And she was super cute. She just like kind of followed me and my mom around everywhere and would always ask me, hey, what's in that backpack? What's in this? What's in that? And I was really, really sad to say goodbye to her. I gave her a hug, and me and my mom gave her, my mom gave her some pesos and took her to a little corner store and got her some treats. But after that, when we were in the van, the kids just surrounded the van. And they were so close. There were so many. They were up against the van. The door was open. They were trying to talk to us and be like, where are you going? Some of them were asking, are you coming back? Like, are you coming back? And it was hard to be like, no, we're done. Like, this is our last day. So saying goodbye and watching them just... watching them just stand there and with smiles on their face thinking that we were coming back. And, you know, they would dress up for us and wear their best clothes. And saying goodbye to them was really, really hard. They watched us all leave, and we shut the door, and they still stayed there, and we drove off, and they just watched us. They watched us drive off. And that's when it set in for me. And that's when I realized this was not a mistake. I was supposed to be here. God put me in this place and wanted me to see this and wanted me to give what I could give. And so that was amazing. You know, I was regretting it so much at first, and then I thought, no, this is what I was supposed to do. This is what God wanted me to do. All right, thank you.
We enjoyed a lot of laughs. One of my favorite things was the time to connect with the church we call family. So I had some great conversations, and I got to know and learned a lot more about Sal, some people we don't know that you saw in the video, Reg, Frank, Lonnie, Toby, Jesse, Angelica, Vanessa, Ashlyn, just to name a few. So and I hope that I reciprocated as well. If you didn't know it, Sal talks a lot. I had 3 very long nights of conversation before we fell asleep. In fact, he may know me better than my wife right now. No. When we talk about connection, I know 4 of us guys connected really well when I'm fitting in the back seat of a Toyota Corolla. Oh, shoot. And also, I have never been called a hippie before, and I got called a hippie by a pastor, no less. So, anyway, okay. Fun stuff is over. Okay. I saw words. Our words and our actions out there were very impactful. And we impacted that local community. And I expected my lack of knowledge of Spanish to really impact that. And it did to a degree. But one of the most special things was after working all day, the first night I went over and we played a game of keep away with the kids. Some of us adults and other kids played keep away. Simple game, right? And which is no big deal. The third day after working all day, I was physically exhausted. But I'm like, okay, I can go over there and I'll watch. And Charcy said, let's play kickball. And she talked to all the kids, and they're like, oh, yeah, okay, let's do it. And a kid by the name of Jose, a local kid, said, come on, Wes. And I'm like, I don't talk Spanish. How do you know? And Charcy said, he called you by name. Come on out. So out we go. You can't say no to that. My mantra was I didn't go to sit. So we went out. And I paid the price, but it was worth it. So we impacted that local community with our words, with our actions while we were out there. Another day was our last day there when we were pouring the big slab out at San Pedro. You saw Reg finishing the concrete out there. And a couple guys, it was mentioned before, Reg and I got to do the Mayan concrete dance. So that was fun. But towards the end of that pour, we were standing there, and Jesse and I was in there moving the concrete all day, and everybody else was making the concrete. Reg was finishing it there. We was going that last piece. And Pastor Earl come out and was praying over the church that was being created. And I had my back to her. I didn't hear her. The concrete mixer was going, and I was focused on moving concrete. And Reg was finishing it. He looked up. He goes, "Oh, look over there! I got goosebumps." Because I turned around, and the pastor was praying over the church, and so I was able to appreciate the goosebumps that he had at that moment. And we were laying the foundation for a church. The last point that I wanted to make, I had some great conversations with the people from our church, but I also had a really good conversation with Paul Espinoza on our way back from San Marcos. When we went out it was a really poor village that we went out and blessed them with. And we were just talking about how these people are so content. Their life revolves around eating, sleeping, and their family, their connections with their family. That's the center of their life. And it led me to thinking that we call ourselves Christians. And if we call ourselves Christians, God calls us to serve. And Marcia likes to say, love God, love his people. And it was interesting. On this trip, we got to go out and service people in a different place. What was there? And I believe we literally laid the foundation for others to follow, to expand the kingdom of Christ.
Everybody, who can feel the Holy Spirit here right now? So I just want to share a couple things. I was a little bit apprehensive to go on the trip, if I'm being honest. I haven't been out of the country. It's definitely new territory for me. I can kind of be content, maybe a U.S. mission trip. But I did it. And it was the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me. I think while we were there, I think initially a lot of our first thoughts are like, oh my gosh, we have so much, we are so blessed, and those types of things. And that is true, and that is a beautiful feeling to feel. But the way that I felt was like, oh my gosh, I can be more simple. Gosh, I don't need all of that. All I need is family. All I need is relationships. Like, while we were there to bless them, they're the ones that blessed us. They're the ones that blessed us. It was just so beautiful that's how I felt. I came back like, simplify is my word. And if I could go disappear into the jungle forever, I will. I really will. I think God has, I feel like I had a heart for missions, but I definitely have a way bigger heart for missions now. Once I got to see what happened over there on different soil, a different place, out of our comfort zone, we all stretched, we all grew. One of my favorite moments was definitely the kickball night with Wes, and the kids didn't know how to play kickball. And so we kind of had some other kids there that were some of the pastor's kids, and they kind of translated for us, because they spoke Spanish, to the other kids how to play kickball. And I really hope that maybe they're going to play it tonight. Maybe they're going to remember, hey, kick the ball. They know baseball, but they don't have to have all the equipment. All they have to have is a ball, and so I hope that leaves that impact. But what happened was that same kid, his name was Josue, who called out Wes. I was able to bring my son on the trip, Chance, and he was a little bit apprehensive, for sure. He kind of had a rough attitude, and that was kind of hard to deal with. But he finally came around. On that night with kickball, one of the Josue said, agua. Do you have agua? He was thirsty after running and playing. And Chance came, and he is very athletic in all kinds of ways. And so he loved playing the sports out there. I think that was his favorite part. But he came up and he's like, Mom, he asked me for a drink. Give me some pesos. I want to go get him a drink. He's like, give me a lot. And so I just handed him a bunch of pesos, and he tried to explain to him, here, go get a drink. Go get one for your friends and keep the change and everything. But when he went up to the kid, his face his mouth just dropped. Like, whoa. And so anyways, what happened is Chance ended up going to the store with them, letting them pick out whatever they want. And then they all went and hung out on the field, and the kid, Chance, was just so amazed. He laid out like little cups, little plates, and they had like a little meal, a little snack after. And I think that was the moment right there where it's just like, wow. And he was just so grateful just for a soda, just for a drink. And I just wonder, maybe we can start building more of a heart of gratitude just for a drink, just for a soda. I think it was amazing. He was the only, from our church, the only youth on the trip. And so our next trip, which I'm sure we're going to have one, I can't wait. If you do have youth, bring them. It can be difficult to navigate, I'm sure, as a teenager, but let me tell you, his life was changed. Every seed sown is going to bear something, some type of fruit. It was hard work. A lot of things, we all stretched, we all grew. But those were my two things, is, hey, I am so blessed, but also I can learn so much from them, where we can be a little bit more simple. Maybe all the things we think matter don't really matter as much as we worry and stress about them. And then seeing my son and our family. I think the importance on teaching Jesus to your family and just continuing to sow and sow and sow into your kids and sow into your family. Even if they don't think, sometimes you don't think it's making a difference. It's making a difference because God is always moving. He's always moving. And so those are just a couple things that I wanted to share. I have so much, and hopefully I can talk to you guys about them a little bit more. But God was definitely there. And as Melody says, if it's missions, the answer is always yes.
I'm stepping out of my element. I don't do this, but I'll keep it short. My biggest thing I took out of it was when Pastor Paul picked up the dirt and we all prayed. And he reminded us that we are setting a foundation for people to come and share and learn about Jesus. And I want to tell all of you, whoever doesn't believe, look at my life and look what I got back because of God. I love you guys. Thanks.
That's a very nice ring in your finger, Alejandro. You know, I don't know, last year in our kitchen, I was talking to Pastor Paul. Everyone kind of referred to him. We were talking, we shared a meal, and we talked about places that we visited before. And he found out that I was from the Yucatan. And he goes, dude, you have to come on this trip. You have to come check out what we're doing out there. We've gone there 2 times. This will be a 3rd time. You should totally come and check out what we're doing. They didn't think anything of it. And we ended up taking 22 people from our church to go impact this pueblito, this little village. One thing that stuck to me the most is during a worship night, during a worship service, one of the pastora, we call her the pastora, which is, she's a pastor. She said that a prophetic word came to her that from the Yucatan will come back a missionary that will love their people and will continue to build the church for their people. And then, you know, she was, you know, talking about me. And that was very humbling, you know, because I'm from the Yucatan and I was working with my people. I think to me that was the biggest takeaway. Okay, now that I said that, I can't express how proud I am of each and one of you. All of you that came and shared, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you to all that gave to these missions. We really saw the hands and feet of Jesus take place in this trip. So many lives were impacted. I literally saw people transformed from day one of hard reality. And let me just be completely honest. My wife and I shared a 5-gallon bucket to take a shower or a bath. Twice. Not once, twice. She was hogging the water. We only had 5 gallons. It's not a spa day, okay? It was hot, but it was great. My heart every morning, I don't know how, I cannot explain how, but every morning we're up by 6:30-ish, some earlier than that. But we're all excited when we got together, had breakfast, perked up with some coffee, and went out to the field. We had a great time together. One of the other memories that I got that I'm always going to cherish is being able to go to my hometown. On one of the free days, I was able to go to Oshkutskap, where I was born. I was born in a hammock, in a little hut. That's where I was born. And I was able to see my grandfather, and my family was able to visit my grandfather and our families. But one thing my grandpa told me was that he said, I don't know if we are ever gonna see each other again. He's 93 years old. He goes, but I know that one thing you always follow from me is following Jesus Christ. And he extended both hands and he prayed a blessing over us, my family. And to me, that was very impactful because he told me when I was 18 years old, missionaries came. And through that experience, I gave my life to Jesus. So the work that you're doing is unnoticed. Just know that it's not going unnoticed. God's going to continue to build from what you guys are doing. So again, as your pastors, we are very proud of everyone that came, and we're very proud of everyone that contribute to this trip. It's always going to be yes when it comes to missions. All right, so before I close, is there anyone that would like to share from the trip?
Sorry, I just felt in my heart that I needed to share this. So when God calls you, you go, right? Man, what an amazing experience that we had in Yaxkaba. I can't even explain what a life-changing experience this has been for myself, and I can see for other people as well. I'm going in a season of my life of change, right? And while I was there, I was like, God, just speak to me. Before coming, I was like, God, I just want to feel alive again. I want to feel joy despite of my circumstances. I don't want my feelings to control how I determine my day is going to be. And so the whole time I was like, God, just bring life back to me. Let me feel alive, not by my power, not by my strength, but by your power and your strength. And through this whole past week, I wasn't able to take the focus off of myself and be able to serve others. And that brought me back to life. In Matthew 16:24-26, it says, Then Jesus said to his disciples, If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And so this whole past week, I denied myself, I picked up my cross, and I served others. And I just want to thank God because he has just brought supernatural healing into my life. And as everyone has said, if you go on a mission trip, do it. It's an amazing experience. It's life-changing. I'm just so grateful that we serve a God who is powerful. So thank you.
I'm very thankful that we all came safe and sound. Not once did we feel unsafe. We felt safe the whole time we were there. It was nice. It was like we were at home with people that we are getting to know, that we could call family now. I do want to say that a couple people from our trip are not feeling so well today. I want to ask all of us to pray for Salvador, who his back is hurting pretty bad. I think he's going to go to the ER or urgent care, just kind of check his back. For James, who woke up under the weather, we want to pray for James because he's full of joy, and for him not being here, you could definitely tell he wasn't here. But we want him to get better for sure. And also for Chance, who woke up not feeling so good as well. So keep those people in your prayer.